Hello everybody and welcome back to Nerdy Miniatures. In today's video we're going to be giving you guys the tutorials from our Lord of Blights video that we did the other day, where we did our face reveal and our competition. So if you want to see the full thing, go ahead and head over there. But if you're here just for the tutorials, then stick around for this, because you'll see my version and Mr. Nerd's version being painted in two formats. First in our long form format, and the second in our Citadel apps format. So if you want to see how we did it, then just keep on watching. So now we are officially in the tutorial section of our video, so if you want to see how I painted my figure, then just keep on watching. To begin, I sprayed the figure using Chaos Black, and then I started on the flesh. For this, I used Kislev flesh and Rakar flesh, just to create a nice greyish tan colour. Now moving on to the maggots in his stomach, I use Bugman Glow for this, just to create a fleshy tone. For his armour, I did a base of lead belcher, but this is just the base of multiple layers. Next, using Rakar flesh, I painted in the tiny skeletal fragment that you can see in his back, before moving on to his armour. For this, I used Warplock bronze. I also used this to paint his hammer. For that skeletal fragment, I used the contrast paint Skeleton Horde just to make it more bone-like. And once that was done, I moved on to Blood Reaver flesh and I began to paint his loincloth. Using Plaguebearer flesh, I then went over with the first coat on his armour, just to create that Nurgle green look. This guy has a tiny little tail, so just to paint that in, I used Slanesh Grey, just for a little bit of a breaking colour. Moving back onto Warplock bronze, I'd painted in the decals that the armour have. Now, using a sponge and lead belcher and Stormhost silver, I then blotted onto the figure various layers of colour. I then went back over the top with Plaguebearer's flesh, just to create a slightly distressed look and make it look like the armour had some battle damage to it. Next, moving on to the shading, so using Carabao Crimson and Druchii Violet, I then painted all over the flesh, just to create a more sore and kind of oozy look to the skin that is very Nurgle-like, and something I've been using many times as of right now. Every time I do Nurgle, I do this colour combination. Next, using Agrax Earthshade, I then painted this over the armour just to create a dirty, worn look. Next, it was time to distress, so using Nihilate Oxide, I went over the bronze elements like his hammer, his dagger, and a few of the other elements on his outfit, just to add some oxidization and tarnishing. Next, to add some rust, I used Mournfang Brown, specifically Air Mournfang Brown, and I watered it down with a bit of water, and I applied this into various places, just to create a little bit of a worn rust look. Going back in with Stormhost Silver, I then began to do my highlights, touching the edges and the high points of the suit of armour, just because I wanted a metallic highlight rather than just a green highlight. Next, using Pallid Witch Flesh, I went in and did the exact same thing, adding highlights to the skin. Using Hashut Copper, I then went in and highlighted any of the bronze elements, just to create a slightly brighter, more orangey look. Now, moving on to his base, I started with a base layer of technical Stirland mud and built this up to be quite layered just to add a bit of volume. Next, I moved on to his shield. For this, I used Warplock Bronze just to fill it in and keep it uniform with the rest of the figure. I couldn't actually paint the back piece on camera because the camera was losing focus, but for this I simply used Mournfang Brown and some Rakarth Flesh for the heads. For the balls on the shield, I went in with Moot Green just because I think it's the perfect Nurgle colour. Using Abaddon Black, I then dry brushed this over the shield just to remove the overly shiny effect, as I wanted it to look a little bit muddy and tarnished. Using Technical Paint Tesseract Glow, and then went over the balls on it just to kind of create a more glowy effect. Then using Nihilate Oxide, I went in and added a little bit more tarnishing by oxidizing the shield. Around the outer edges and on the spikes of the shield, I went in with Hashut Copper, both as a highlight and also just to add a little bit of a colour shift. Moving back onto the base, I used Baneblade Brown on a dry brush first, just to kind of add a little bit of dimension in colour. Next, I went in with Gortha Brown and did the exact same thing, just to create layers of different shades of brown, just to build it up. And then finally over the top, I went in with Rakarth Flesh, just to create a very, very light base before I went in with my shade paint. And for this, I used Agrax Earthshade. As you can see, I've now attached the back piece, and for this I just finished it off with some Agrax Earthshade as well, just to create a more muddy look. And that is it. That is my figure all completed. I hope you've enjoyed this little section. I'll add obviously some beautiful glamour shots right here at the end before we move on to Mr. Nerd's tutorial. His tutorial is going to be our Citadel app style, where it's going to be short, sweet, to the point. Let us know in the comments down below which version you prefer. Anyway, let's get into Mr. Nerd's tutorial. Now move on to Mr. Nerd's tutorial. Of course, I am not Mr. Nerd. Mr. Nerd did all the painting on this figure, but I am here to do the recording. For this, you will see a very simple layout in the Citadel app style, where I'll talk about each section and the exact paints used and where. Very straightforward, to the point, and let's just get into the video. Starting with the flesh of the figure, Mr. Nerd went with a base paint of Xandri Dust. Once that was dry, he went with the shade paint Antonian Camo Shade, and for highlights, he used Elysian Green. Next, moving on to the Rotten Flesh and Maggot section. He used 4 paints in total for this. For the base of the maggots, he used the base paint Rakkar Flesh. For going in with the shade paints Druchii Violet and Carroburg Crimson. For highlights, he used Flayed One Flesh. For his loincloth, Mr. Nerd went in with the base paint Khorne Red, for going in with the shade paint Carroburg Crimson and the highlight shade of Wazadaka Red. For the metal elements, he used Lead Belcher as a base, for going in with the shade paint Nuln Oil, and following up with the shade paint Agrax Earth Shade and the highlight layer shade Ironbreaker. For his armour, he started with the base shade of Caliban Green, before going over the top with Nuln Oil, and highlighting the decals and edges using Warpstone Glow. For the shield and other bronze elements on the figure, he started off with Balthazar Gold, a base paint, for highlighting with Sycorax Bronze. He then went in with 2 technical paints, the first one being Nihilus Oxide to add oxidation to the brass areas, and went in with Tesseract Glow just to create a slightly eerie glowing green effect. And finally, for the ropes and wood, he went in with Dried Bark, for going over the top with the shade paint Agrax Earth Shade, and then highlighting edges using Gortha Brown. If you want a specific tutorial on this base, because as you can see it's pretty amazing, then let us know in the comments down below and we will do that for you. Anyway, that's it. Nice and simple. Very short, sweet, to the point, just like I said. So, let me know in the comments down below which version you prefer. That brings us finally to the end of today's video. I know it was a long one, but we really do appreciate if you stayed with us to the very end. Down in the description you will find multiple links. The first to our Discord channel. Please feel free to join our Discord family. It's a very small community, slowly growing, and we have a lot of fun over there. Next, you'll find a link to my channel, where if you enjoy lore on topics like Warhammer and Lord of the Rings, then you'll love it over there. And of course, if you enjoy MMOs and action RPGs, then please feel free to have a look at Mr. Nerd's channel. Anyway, that'll be it from me today. Wonderful day, or night, wherever you are in the world. And as always, peace out, guys.